All right, it looks as though the uptick in that participant count has slowed down, so we'll get started. This event is being recorded, so if you have any friends who missed the beginning or who missed the event, you can let them know that we will be sending a link to a recording of this event, and anyone who is not here live will be able to participate or view. Again, to introduce myself, I'm Dan Rubin. I am the Counseling Department Chair here at Newton South, and it is our pleasure to welcome you this evening to our 9th grade and New to South Parent Evening. We hope to answer many of the questions that you might have and welcome you as we begin this partnership during your children's Newton South experience. Without any further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce to you first our brand new principal, Tammy Strauss.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you, Dan, for that introduction. I am so excited to be here. I'm hoping that I met some of you at the previous 9th grade parent nights that we've had. If not, welcome. I hope you find this session useful and informative. And as always, if there's anything that we can help you with, please let us know. I'm going to pass it off to our new vice principal now, Jason Williams.
Hi, everyone. Jason Williams, Vice Principal here at Newton South High School, and I'm looking forward to working with you guys tonight. And it's been a great few days of school so far. The kids are really happy to be back, especially for the first time in a long time. And as we said, we're happy to answer questions that anyone has. And without further ado, I'll pass it on to our PTSO president, Michelle Wetlaufer.
Hi. My name is Michelle Wetlaufer. I'm the current PTSO president. All the parents and guardians, students, faculty at Newton South are members of the PTSO. And the PTSO's goal is to build community, support teachers, communicate with our Newton South family, and of course, raise funds to support those goals. We have more than a dozen volunteer committees, and everyone participation is welcome at whatever level you feel comfortable. And I'm going to send the committee's link page in the chat right now. Secondarily, our PTSO fundraiser for $66,000 will continue to be used to support our teachers and student activities. We don't hold bake sales. We won't have auctions. This is it, one dues drive. And I promise you, once we hit our goal of $66,000, I will stop asking. So if you could do that, that would be great. The way to do it is to go to your directory link that you were sent. I'm putting that into the chat as well. And that go on there, confirm your entry, and then pay your dues. There will also be another link to pay additional dues. We appreciate any amount that our members are able to contribute. We spend about $30,000 for departments for supplies and events, $10,000 for teachers and faculty appreciation, and much, much more. So we really would like to reach that goal and be able to support our students. If you can't pay that, please email directory at newtonsouthptso.org directly, and you will get a directory and be able to have your information updated. Lastly, our weekly newsletter is a critical source of information about Newton South. If you are not already receiving emails from the PTSO, please visit newtonsouthptso.org and sign up. If you have any questions, you can email me at info@newtonsouthptso.org. And I'm going to turn it over to Star Liu, who is the Newton Public Schools Global Educator Developer. And I believe she's going to speak about GALF. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Hello, everyone. My name is Star Yixing Liu, and tonight I'm going to introduce a great opportunity for our students and families. Jason, do you mind share the screen, or do you want me to share the screen? And you can do the presentation mode if possible. That'd be great. Thank you. So GALF is a nonprofit organization. Jason, you can just keep pressing the space bar and it will come out. Yes. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and I am currently managing the liaison work with the board. So Jason, you can just keep pressing. So I'll just keep on going. Yes. This is my name, Star Yixing Lu, and my email address is lewy at everything else is Newton. Next page, please. The GELF organization is, the full name is Jennifer Price Global Education Leadership Fund. Jennifer Price used to be the Newton North principal, and this is a scholarship fund set up for the students. And Jason, you can keep pressing for this page. The scholarship is for NPS students who are going on the international trips, and we provide a need-based global education scholarship for families who apply for it. And please spread the word. This may be a great opportunity for you, for your children or child to go on an amazing trip. We promote equitable access to trips, and we cultivate a community of globally responsive citizens and leaders. Next page, please. GELF supports the following exchange trips. Other than language exchanges, we also support different learning projects, service projects. We support study programs in the summer, as well as music and sports international competitions. So here are some pictures from our previous trips. Next page, please. In Newton North, we have the following 8 international trips that GELF has sponsored students who would not have been able to participate if it were not GELF scholarship available. So you can click on space and yes. So these are the list of the Newton North trips. How about Newton South? Let's check out the Newton South trips. So for Newton South, we the GELF scholarship has sponsored 7 international trips as follows. And all of these information, I will send it to the school, and you will be able to find them on NPS website. Thank you. Jason, next page, please. How do we get involved? I'm asking families to volunteer to be a board member or to volunteer at different fundraising events. And if you have connections, please connect us with corporate donors who could sponsor us for various events and fundraising. And please help us spread the word so that we get more families involved. Next page, please. You may follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and please search our name, which is, Jason, could you, yeah, Newton Global Education and GELF. So that's the same name for Instagram and Facebook. And my email again, LEWY, please reach out to me if you're interested. And I'm the Global Education Developer. I'm also managing the Beijing Jingshan Exchange Program. And I also teach Chinese at Newton North. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jason. So now let me introduce Melissa Gamble, who is the Special Education Department Chair.
Hello, everyone. My name is Melissa Gamble. I'm the Department Head for Special Education at Newton South. Welcome to Newton South. I'm only going to be here with you for a little while this evening, but I wanted to let you know if you have any questions about your students' services here at Newton South, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm available by email or by telephone, and I'll be happy to speak with you about special education services here at South. I hope you have a great year and enjoy the evening. And now I'd like to introduce Josepha Blocker, the Dean of the Cutler House.
Hello, everybody. I am Josepha Blocker, Dean of Cutler House, and it's my pleasure to introduce Jim Medeiros, who is one of our guidance counselors, as well as Donna Siegel, and Ariel Kenyon, who will split her time between Goodwin and Cutler Houses, is unfortunately unable to be with us this evening. And I hope to have an opportunity to speak with you all a little bit later, but I may have to sign off before that point. My kindergartner's back to school night was co-scheduled at the same time as this. So if I don't get to speak to you again, Cutler House families, please feel free to reach out anytime. I'm happy to help with whatever I can do. And I will hand it over to my colleague, Mr. Mayet.
Thank you, Ms. Blocker. Hello, folks. Charlie Mayette. I'm the Goodwin House Dean. Goodwin House counselors with us tonight are Kara Veely and Sarah Stile, and Ari Kenyon as is also with us, but not here. Dave Kershaw, who's also coaching right now, and Dan Rubin. So thank you for attending tonight, and look forward to speaking with you later on. And now I hand it off to Mark Banks.
Hi, ninth grade and new to South families. My name is Mark Banks. I am the Dean of Goldrick House. So happy you could all join us. And I am joined by the Goldrick House counselors, which include Mr. Hardiman, Chris Hardiman, Sue Battler, and Christina Brown, and Miss Choi, who sort of splits her time between Goldrick House and Wheeler House. And so with that being said, I will hand it off to Dr. Martin.
Hi, everybody. I'm Megan Martin. I'm the Dean of Wheeler House at Newton South High School. Welcome, first of all. It's my pleasure tonight to introduce you to the Wheeler House guidance counselor, Mr. Amani Allen, Mr. Aaron Lewis, and Miss Hay Choi, who Mark just explains has students in Wheeler House and in Goldrick House. So welcome and feel free to reach out at any time.
Great. And I am actually going to ask the counselors to each take a minute or so just to introduce themselves, share with you a little bit about their background at South, and then share with you just one frequently asked question that they hear from their ninth grade students and families, and how they choose to respond to that question. I'm going to go through in the order of the houses as counselors were introduced before. So first, Mr. Medeiros, can you share with us?
Hello, everybody. I'm Jim Medeiros. I'm a guidance counselor in Cutler House, and this is my 14th year at Newton South. As I told the ninth graders when I met them on Thursday, I started at Newton South the year they were born. So that makes me feel nice and old. So it's a pleasure to be with you. And I look forward to getting to know you and my students this year and all 4 years of high school. A question that is often asked by students is, how do I set up a time to meet with you? So how do students set up a time to meet with their counselor? Really, the best way to set up a time to meet is to contact us directly through the Newton Public Schools Gmail system or through Schoology message. So either Schoology message or Gmail, both are perfectly good ways to communicate with us. Students typically meet with us when they have a directed study on their schedule. Now, not all ninth graders have a directed study. So if they do not have a directed study, they can meet with us during Lion Block on Tuesdays or during lunch blocks throughout the week. Sometimes counselors will meet with students before or after school, depending on need. It is best practice for the student to just reach out to us so that we can coordinate a good time to meet during the week. If they have a question or concern, the best way, again, really is through the email system. So through Gmail or through Schoology message. Both are really excellent ways for students to get in touch with us. And students can also stop by our office in person. And depending on the circumstances, we might be able to meet with them in the moment, or we might just talk with them about coordinating another time that works best for both of us. So again, it's great to have you with us, and we wish you all a very good school year, and it's great to be back in the building with everyone. So I'm going to hand on to the other counselor in Cutler House, who is Miss Donna Siegel.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm Donna Siegel, and I'm one of the counselors in Cutler. I wish I could see how many people were here. I'm sure there would be, familiar faces. But I wanted to just welcome you to Newton South and to let you know that I've been in education. This is my 30th year as a counselor. And so that's a big number. And I've been at South 19 years. And I love the Newton community. I'm born and bred and a graduate of Newton South. Want to just share with you the most common question that I get every year, regardless of what kind of schedule we're in. And we've certainly been very flexible over the last year and a half, but I know we're in a new schedule. And in terms of the question that I get the most from freshmen is, if I do not have a class scheduled, do I have free time? That's what kids ask me a lot. So 9th grade students do not have free blocks. Okay, they should be scheduled either in a class or in a directed study. When a class is canceled, students will go to the cafeteria where they'll be supervised by adults. When students have a canceled class during the lunch block, they will be expected to go to the auditorium, which frees up the cafeteria for the lunches. During directed studies, students can use the library if there's room available, as well as they can access our academic support centers, which we hope will be up and running by the end of this week. Those academic support centers consist of the Writing Center, the Math Center, and the Science Center. Students may be able to touch base with a teacher if the teacher is available and they've made an arrangement during a directed study. But one of the things that I do hear frequently is that kids say, can I leave campus? And can I have a free block? And the answer to that is, as freshmen, they cannot. So I don't know who has the next question, but I'm happy to pass it along to whomever. Who is that?
Ms. Siegel, why don't we go next to some of our Goodwin House counselors? Ms. Stile, can you lead us off within Goodwin House?
Okay, I look forward to meeting everybody and working with you and having a great year, healthy year.
Thank you, Ms. Rubin. I'm Sarah Stile. I'm a counselor in Goodwin House, and it's my 9th year at South this year. And one of the questions that 9th graders and new to South students often ask me, and also my colleagues here, is what do I do if I'm confused in a class? And I think pretty common experience is that students feel like they might be the only one that's confused. And I often assure them and validate it's actually not the case. Many students are confused and they often are not sure what to do. Really the best person for students to work with on that confusion and clarifying any questions they have is the teacher of the class. And some students are happy to figure out how to navigate that process of making a meeting with the teacher. But if that's difficult for a student, counselors are really here to help facilitate those connections, whether it's letting a teacher know that the student will be reaching out or that the student will be coming by during a WIN block. We'll be signing up for a WIN block with them because they have a question. And sometimes counselors provide specific information about what the student has a question on. And sometimes we work with students and we coach them on how to make good use of that time in their meeting with the teacher. So that's one thing that students ask about a lot is just what can they do if they feel a little bit lost? And as was alluded to by Donna Siegel, we do have some help centers that are useful. And it can also be really, really helpful to meet with the teacher directly. And the counselors are here to help facilitate and navigate that process with students. And I think I'm going to pass it on to Kara Veely.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kara Veely. I'm a guidance counselor in Goodwin House as well. I've been here for 14 years. And what else? I used to work in higher education over at Bentley University in Waltham. And I love working with kids, as we all do. What can I tell you about Newton South? Let's see. Kids often want help with something specific, like a paper. I'm writing a paper and I need help on this paper, or I don't understand this concept in math. So I just wanted to emphasize that we have a writing center. You can bring papers from English, history, even a lab report from biology. It's all about writing. And then there's a math center. The English center is staffed by English teachers and some peer tutors. The math center is staffed by Mr. Marchika, who's awesome. He's a retired engineer who just wanted to do something he loved in his retirement, and he chose to work here. And he really is well thought of by the kids. He explains math very clearly, and he's very kind, and he's great. And there are also student math tutors in the math center. And in addition, there's extra help from teachers. So we have the WIN blocks this year. And on Mondays, starting next week, kids will start being able to sign up for specific places to go during WIN block. And some of those options will be working with teachers. So you're having trouble with the English paper, sign up for your English teacher's block, and maybe 6 other kids will sign up and you'll have a writing workshop together. You're having trouble, with your science lab, your teacher will have a block to sign up for where everybody who's working on the lab and needs a little support can go and work as a small, intimate group and get some extra TLC. So we've got a lot of options here. We're really lucky that we have the time and the great teachers here to really help kids. And the WIN blocks are new this year, but it's kind of exciting that the teachers will have more opportunities to help kids in small groups. And other, counselors will help kids in small groups too, but that's right now just focusing on the academics and getting acclimated to high school. There are some really good opportunities. So anyway, nice to see you all, and I look forward to getting to know the families that are new to me and all the kids. Thanks. And I'm going to introduce, Mr. Rubin, did you say Mr. Kershaw is coaching right now?
Looks like Mr. Kershaw is joining us fresh off Newton Commonwealth Golf Course, our finest JV golf coach in the whole school.
Hi all. Hi all. Welcome everybody. I'm so sorry. I'm zooming from my car. Dave Kershaw. I'm a counselor in Goodwin House. This is my 14th year at South, and as Dan said, tonight we had our first JV golf match after a rain out last week. So we literally stepped off the green about 2 minutes ago. So here I am. I'm thrilled to be with you all. It's been an amazing experience to be here. The buzz and excitement in the building over the past 3 days, just to have the whole student population back with us in person has been just amazing. The buzz in my office and all of the offices, and it's just been really wonderful, and I know has energized me. I hope you guys have heard the same from your students coming home, and they're equally charged up about the year. As far as background in terms of like things that we're hearing from kids in the past, and certainly this year is, especially with the transition to freshman year, is if courses are feeling, more complicated than they were before. If there's just concepts that are not or that aren't sticking, the way things are being taught is very different than middle school. There's a lot that comes with that. And so the big thing I try to tell kids, and this will, is a thread that's woven through their entire journey and actually through their entire life, is that communication is really key. Granted, communication can be really hard for a lot of kids, especially as they're coming into their own. So what I encourage them to do is certainly hang around after class and talk to your teacher live and in person. And if that is a struggle in the beginning, it's okay to email. You can email your teacher. You can, shoot them a quick message and explain, just your questions, concerns. Teachers are in this business to be supportive. They're in education to be helpful, and they don't want any mystery behind what they're doing. So the key is, if you're drifting in and out with the bell, not necessarily intentionally, but just because you're feeling nervous, or that's, I see my teacher, but there's not an opportunity, or it's too busy. It's really important to communicate. If at any point you're struggling with that communication, I encourage them, by all means, come and stop in and see us. That's one of our biggest roles, is to help students advocate, especially when they're younger, because it isn't always easy to find your voice with adults. It can be intimidating. So please use us as parents. Please use us as that resource. But certainly all of your students, please implore them to communicate early and often with teachers. It really is a vital tool. They can't help what they don't see. So if you just kind of uncover a little bit of mystery and ask questions, it's going to go a long way. So welcome all. Please don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll go from there. Take care.
I'll jump in now as one of the Goodwin House counselors. So one of the questions I get frequently is, from students who didn't go to school in Newton last year. Either their family has relocated here to Newton in advance of this school year, or they attended a private school. And they say, I'm having trouble meeting other students, and I want to feel more connected to the South community. And the first thing I would just add is we have nearly 100 new students to South this year who did not attend a Newton public school last year. That's across all 4 grades, grades 9, 10, 11, and 12. So there are many, many students in the building who are in similar positions looking to make connections. And one of the primary ways that we try to facilitate that is through our New to South Club that Ms. Veely is the faculty advisor. There are students who are student mentors as part of New to South who they themselves were transfer students previously. And we actually, next Friday, the 24th, during Wind Block, we'll have a New to South kickoff event. So if your child is new to the Newton Public Schools this year, you might want to talk with them about that and encourage them to attend. Further, just getting involved in any way, whether that's through clubs and other student organizations, just going to events around school, whether that's athletic events or performing arts events. Just finding opportunities to become a part of the school culture, to try that on. And it's really important that if your child is feeling like they're having a difficult time connecting, to communicate that feeling or their need for connection to one of their trusted adults. They all met their guidance counselors in our seminars on the first day of school. If they're a ninth grader, if they're an upper class student, in the coming week or so, they should be having a check-in with their counselor if they have not already. We'd encourage them to do that. Their advisor is another person who is a familiar adult who they've seen quite a bit during these opening days. But if you're hearing from your child that they're having difficulty getting connected, please communicate that to your child's counselor and dean, and we will, meet with them, work with them, try to find out, where are some interest areas that we might be able to help facilitate some connection. And with that, I will pass it to, let's see, one of our Goldrick House counselors. Why don't we go to Ms. Battler?
Hi, everyone. I'm not going to say how many years I've been at South, but it's longer than your children are old. And I am also a former parent. Both of my children are Newton South grads, and I can't say enough positive things about the education they got and the way that they got launched into life. I'm just so proud of that. So one of the questions I think that I want to go over is, what happens if your child is sick for a few days, or unfortunately gets COVID, or there's a family emergency? Again, we are here to help. So when you call the house administrator, secretary to call your child out, leave a message and we will work directly using Schoology and Gmail and the phone and any other technology to get in touch with your child, let them know that it's going to be okay. And then we will work with them on a plan to get caught up. We have lots of ways to do that, and we won't leave them hanging there. As many of my colleagues said, we took these jobs because we want to help children. So we're here to do that. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Hardiman.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Hardiman. This is my 10th year at Newton South. And I have been in the counseling field for many years, over 25. I'll leave it at that. So I'm happy to be here tonight and welcome. And one of the questions that we do receive as counselors is, especially for ninth graders, is how do I keep everything organized since things are different than middle school? A couple of years ago, we made a great move in Newton, moving to G Suite, which has helped immensely with keeping students more organized. Many teachers use Google Docs. It's just everywhere now. Everyone's using Google. So Google Docs, Forms, we have Google Calendar that we use as a school. And then, of course, Gmail. That was a huge improvement. So that students can actually email each other through the school email. So that's a great thing. Most teachers in the school, almost, if not 100%, we're close to 100% of teachers use Schoology as the platform for course assignments and grading. And it's a pretty organized system if you haven't taken a look at it. And then there is the tried and true kind of old-fashioned notebook planner, agenda book that's always an option for helping students stay organized. I believe every ninth grader received or had the option to receive a planning book, as I saw them handed out in the by our house secretaries. And then just in terms of class work over time, as students get a little more comfortable here, and as they move up through the grades, teachers will be expecting students to take notes in class and may give a lot of support and guidance to students that need extra help with staying organized with whatever that system is, including note taking. It's a skill they're going to need long in the future if they go to college. So that's about it for now for organization, and I will turn it over to Christina Brown.
Hi, my name is Christina Brown. I have been working in Goldrick for the past 4 years doing a job share. This is my 4th year, sharing a job with Sue Battler, and this year taking on a caseload of new students as well. Some first-year students are already thinking about college, and I want to say to that, you're doing what you need to do, so just focus in on the present. Just making sure that they are really taking in the whole high school experience. This is the time to try things out and meet new people and make mistakes and fail and, do it all. So, be here in the present and try out new things, try out the clubs, try out sports, just try. So yeah, very excited can't see you, but excited to meet you all over this next year. And I'll pass it on to Miss Choi, who's part Goldrick, part Wheeler House.
Hi, my name is Hae Kyung Choi, and I go by Hae for simplicity's sake. And this is my 27th year as a school counselor, and this is my 9th year at Newton South High School. And one of the questions that I've been getting a lot from not only the 9th graders, but everybody is, what do I do during wind blocks? So wind blocks are times when students can sign up to take what I need. It's a time when teachers will set up, or all the staff in the school will set up support time or additional classes or activities that students can choose to participate in. Sometimes counselors will also use this time to meet with groups of students in seminar style meetings or small group meetings. And every Monday, students will have a chance in advisory to choose the wind blocks that they want to attend for the week. And if they don't choose anything, then they'll be assigned to a space like our student center or cafeteria where they might have study hall. And students can change their wind choices all the way up to an hour before the block. Attendance in wind blocks is mandatory, so they must attend wind blocks. It's a little bit different from the lion block, where students, if they don't have a teacher to meet with for their office hours, or if they don't have a club to attend, then they can go home if they want to, but wind blocks are mandatory. It's great to meet you, and I look forward to working with you throughout the year. Thank you. And now I'll pass it over to one of my Wheeler House colleagues, Amani Allen.
Hello and welcome. My name is Amani Allen. This is actually my 6th year at Newton South High School. During that time, I really have been impressed with the amount of choices that students have at Newton South in particular. And one of the questions that the 9th graders don't necessarily verbalize, but I think about, and a question that I encourage them to ask is, how do I discover my interests and passions at South? And it's really about kind of discovery, high school is, right? And experiencing it. So it's not about that next step, right, of college. So it's really getting out of your comfort zone to the point where you are able to grow, right? And so I really encourage the ninth graders to kind of try different electives. There are so many different electives that we have offered. We have woodworking, we have art, 2D, 3D, we have a vocal ensemble band. There's just so many electives, culinary, where if a student, feels like they don't have anything going on because of a directed study, they can touch base with us to see if there's any electives available for them to take. In addition, just being willing to kind of make new friends, meeting, putting themselves out there. We just came back from a pandemic where people have been socially disconnected, and just I know as a guidance counselor, I'm encouraging the ninth graders to reach out to someone new and really introduce themselves and really interact socially, and then also kind of the importance of getting involved in terms of sports and clubs. So there's so many things to try here at Newton South. And my hope is that they're able to experience a little bit of everything, and then in that process, discover their interests and passions. And with that, I'm going to introduce Mr. Aaron Lewis, who's also a counselor in Wheeler House.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Aaron Lewis. I'm celebrating 25 blissful years in Newton South. Well, in the district at least. I've been at South for 14 years. I saw this question. I'm taking this question. I saw this question actually in the chat, and this is something I get a lot from kids, is how do you get involved with clubs and sports and various things? There's many ways that kids find out about clubs and sports. There was already a club fair for ninth graders, and there'll be small club fairs throughout the year. Actually, my twin, who's wearing the same colored shirt, is the club coordinator. So I'm actually, hopefully, Chris, you'll give me some, you'll fill in the gaps if I have any gaps. But there are announcements every day. There are flyers in the hallways. There's, as I mentioned, club fairs. Counselors and teachers will talk about clubs with kids. There's a wonderful website that Chris has set up that you can find on the Newton South website under student activities that has a listing of all the clubs. It's updated. There's more than 120 clubs. I did see also in the chat, there was a concern that we don't necessarily know where all the clubs are meeting and what time they're meeting at. I'm guessing it's because it's so early in the year that clubs haven't all determined that, but they will soon, and they will be posted once all of that is determined. And the clubs will be meeting during the Lion Block. One of a number of things that's going to be happening during Lion Block, and I'm sure that the deans will be talking about Lion Block later in the evening. But it's nice to meet all of you, and I hope you have a great year, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for sharing some perspective and some wisdom. I have a few more remarks for you before handing it over to the deans, but at this point, I just want to allow some of our panelists to make a graceful exit and crowd, thin out your screen a little bit so it's not quite so crowded. But we will have the counselors are certainly able to sign off at this point to prepare for tomorrow. But thank you so much for being here and for sharing your perspective and for putting a name and a face together with, for all of our families. But much appreciated. And now would be a great time if you guys do plan to sign off. I'm staying on with our deans and with our administrators, Principal Strauss and Vice Principal Williams. And just want to share a little bit more. So, we're so excited to be welcoming you to the South community. The opening of the school year always brings with it some frenetic energy. It's like an unmistakable blend of nerves and excitement, and it's most pronounced in our newest students. And this year, it's been an especially welcome energy given how we began last year. And that in spite of the fact that we remain masked and COVID protocols remain in place, Things are feeling much more like a typical school year, though here we are on Zoom yet again. As parents, I expect that you may be feeling a range of emotions, joy and pride, perhaps some worry, and maybe, just maybe, you're wondering how in the world you could possibly be the parent of a high school age child. While your students have a lot of amazing opportunities ahead of them, in many ways, a lot of the most important milestones that your children will achieve during their high school years actually will have nothing to do with their grades or their courses or where they end up beyond high school. The most valuable experiences are often not about any measurable outcome at all, but rather they're the experiences that serve as the foundation for your students' lives moving forward. Social emotional skills like problem solving and persistence and resilience, really the skills that develop confidence, that bumps in the road are an expected part of life, and that it's how we respond to those adverse events that define us. We expect that your kids will encounter and engage with new ideas that challenge their assumptions and prior knowledge, and that help to deepen their understanding of their community and the world beyond. And in turn, will allow them to take a more objective look at themselves, whether that's in the classroom with their peers. It's really important that your kids don't fear the unfamiliar, but rather they run towards it, they embrace it. Some of the ideas that they encounter might feel different. They might challenge their values and beliefs that they hold. But this engagement and reshaping of values really is the very essence of adolescence and the foundation of healthy adult identity. It's important to lean into these experiences that cause discomfort, not to fear them. And as parents, one of the words of advice that we have as counselors is, to normalize and discuss those experiences with your children. This is supposed to be a time, this time of life, of some shaky footing. And, within our bubble, kids are oftentimes hearing messages that they need to strive for perfection, and that even small setbacks can sprout into colossal failures. But we need to remember that in life, setbacks are a part of the process, and that a journey without setbacks is oftentimes insufficient preparation for the realities of life. So yes, results matter, but process and authentic engagement oftentimes matter much more. So South will provide these opportunities for your kids to grow. And we are here to partner with you and to provide some guardrails, but also a wide berth as your children journey into young adulthood. So your counselors that you heard from this evening, they're an incredibly experienced and talented group. They serve as academic advisors, personal counselors, consultants, facilitators. We strive to build supportive relationships and really a partnership with you as parents and guardians. And our shared work is to help through those supportive relationships to help your kids work towards independence and self-advocacy. They will not be in high school forever. Someday they will move on. And for many of them that will be going on to higher education, we want them to feel prepared for that. We want them to recognize themselves as the confident and capable young people that they are. So when opportunities for self-advocacy arise, well, sometimes it is our instinct. My oldest is in 7th grade, and every day my wife and I are talking to each other and checking ourselves. What can we allow him to do for himself versus maybe our instincts from when he was younger that we did for him. So, I would say, every opportunity there is for your child to be a self-advocate, please encourage them to do so. Always feel free to check in with their counselor, with their teacher after the fact, see how they did, see if there was anything that was missed. But please, encourage your kids to have those opportunities, to seize those opportunities, to prove to themselves how capable they are. Just a couple more words as we go through, 4 years at parent evenings. You will oftentimes hear me or the counselors talking about the theme of balance. It is very easy for students to become overwhelmed at South if they try to do everything. More does not always equal better. And the philosophy of going the farthest, the fastest has its limitations, chief among them, burnout. We are here to help you and your kids make good, responsible decisions to moderate and modulate their South experience, and hopefully just have a great time and to make the most of those opportunities that are most meaningful for them. Just want to tell you a couple of our other staff members who are part of the counseling department who weren't on screen tonight. Katani Sumner is our Metco counselor, works with all of our Boston students and their families, but also wears many other hats around the building. She is one of the co-leaders of our Legacy Scholars program. She works with our Courageous Conversations on Race team. She has co-taught music classes and English classes, but she's an invaluable resource. She's actually working as an administrative intern this year, and you may see her at lots of events with our administrators. Her primary space in the building is the Goodwin Commons. A question that comes up from time to time is Goodwin Commons just for our Boston students or students of color? And the answer is no, it is an inclusive space that is available for any students that want to connect with one another and be a part of a broad, multicultural, multi-ethnic, multiracial student community within Newton South. Brian Dulesky is a social worker who works as part of the department. His official title is he is our prevention and intervention counselor. So in addition to working with students across a whole range of issues that students might experience during their adolescent years, he specifically provides some counseling around drug and alcohol use. If you ever have any concerns about substance use with your children, Brian is a great resource, and we would encourage you to reach out. Your child's counselor can facilitate connection with Brian. Kathy Sabet is another one of our counselors. She runs our College and Career Center. She leads a lot of our post-secondary programming, but she's also does a tremendous amount around community service, work opportunities, work-based learning, and she's a terrific resource. And then just a few of the other clinicians in the building who are either social workers or school psychologists. I just want to name, mostly they are within our special education department, and they work within some of our programs. But Stacy Bishop and Sarah Gentile are both adjustment counselors within our Compass program. Carly Edelstein primarily works with students in our STEP program. Kathleen Salage is a school adjustment counselor who works with students in our academic support program. Steve Feinberg is the lead clinician in our Southside program. Nicole Motley is in a role, she's an adjustment counselor and also a role called our clinical care coordinator. So she helps to facilitate if we ever have students out for extended absences or hospitalization. She helps to coordinate the process while students are out and then their re-entry. And last but certainly not least, our two school psychologists, Dr. Andrew Aspel and Dr. Tracy Murphy, and they are involved way beyond just testing students, doing crisis management and intervention. They will evaluate students, and they're there just as consultants and tremendous resources for our community. So I know that was quite a bit. I will cut it off there and turn it back over to the deans, but we so look forward to working with you and your children. Wish you the best of luck, and don't hesitate to reach out to us at any point in time.
Thank you so much, Dan. So I am subbing in for Josepha, who, as she mentioned earlier, it is her kindergartners back to school night. So once again, my name is Mark Banks. I am the Dean of Goldrick House. This is my 10th year at Newton South as Dean of Goldrick. Also former English teacher, because the deans also used to teach. So I always like to say once an English teacher and always an English teacher. But overall, this is my 17th year in education. So I came from Framingham High School. And so now doing our thing here. And so the deans are just going to take you through sort of like the overall workings of Newton South. It's a lot of information to try to take in. I like to say it's like trying to sip from a fire hydrant. So it's okay if you don't get everything. It is recorded. You can always go back and watch it again. But as always, the deans always love hearing from parents and guardians. So please do not hesitate to reach out to us. And if you have any questions, then that's how we will get to know each other over the next 4 years for any 9th grade parents, or 3, 2, or 1 years for any new to South parents. So like I said, I'm going to go through this information and we'll take it from there. So I'm starting with Josepha's sections. So essentially the house structure. So Newton South is almost 2,000 students strong. And so to make this school feel a little bit smaller, we have divided into 4 houses. And so each house consists of 1 dean, a couple of counselors, as you saw earlier, and 1 house secretary. And the house secretary you will get to know very well during your time here. They will be your main point of contact. So in the middle schools, you might have been used to calling the main office. Here at the high school, you will call your house secretary if your child forgot their lunch, or if you need to get in touch with them, or if you're picking them up early or dismissing them to the dentist. The house secretary will be your first point of contact. Even though we are divided into houses, students do take classes across the entire school. So it's not like, you know, if you're in Goldrick House, all of your classes are in Goldrick House. So each of the houses tend, if anything, the houses at the house structure really is felt at the adult level. Students really only feel it in their advisory, where they are paired with an advisory teacher who they will be with during their 4 years. So the deans want the students or your children to feel like their house is their home. I know it's super corny, but I say that to all of my Goldrick students when I run around to their advisories. It's their home base. So we want all of the students to feel like, you know, if they have an issue, they know they can come to the house office. Their guidance counselor will be available. If not, one of us, their dean will be available. If not, the house secretary will be available. So we all work very closely to make this place feel like, okay, I have my home base. I know where to go. So what do the deans do? That's a question that comes up very often. So, you know, we work closely with your child's counselor to support them. Our number one job is safety, making sure that your student is safe at Newton South. Yes, our job is also disciplinarian, but I also like to say our number one job is number one advocate. So making sure that your child feels like they have a person that will advocate for them. They know between their counselor and their dean, they've got someone in their corner, sometimes just to listen, sometimes to just be in our office and cry it out, sometimes to be in our office to, you know, say all the joyful things that are happening here at South. So, you know, we handle issues of safety. We work with students when they make mistakes. And, you know, we do all of this in alignment with our district's policies and protocols. So when it comes to discipline, yes, that is a necessary part of our job. So when when you hear the word dean, you know, if a teacher sends a student out of class, it's go to your dean's office. So, you know, over the past couple of years, we have been using restorative practices, which has been a practice across the district, and we will continue to do that. And we work with your students to try to help them realize, okay, where did I make the mistake? Why did I make the mistake? How do I rectify the mistake? It isn't always necessarily you get a detention or you're suspended. It's how do I rectify the situation to make it better? And we work with you, parents and guardians, to, you know, help the process and help the students grow, because that's where the learning happens. It's when mistakes happen, and they're teenagers, their frontal cortexes are not completely developed. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to push the envelope. They're going to push boundaries. You know, being surrounded by 2,000 students for the last 16 years, I can tell you it's going to happen. But the deans work hard to try to make sure that we are not getting to know your students for the first time when they are in trouble. We are in the hallways, we're going into advisories, we're calling students into our offices just to meet with them, just to get to know them, to make this place feel smaller for them. For safety purposes as well, we also work with the school youth officer. His name is Bussy Adam. The deans have a great relationship with him. He knows teenagers so well. And so we work with the Newton Police when need be, but he just serves as a resource for the deans, and can serve as a resource for parents and families as well. And parents and families and guardians have found him very, very helpful in working with them if issues arise that needs additional support beyond the dean. So when the deans are reaching out to students, a big question is, how do we do it? This was mentioned by the guidance counselors. I also think Dan might have said it as well, but we will be reaching out through Gmail. So please, I know it's such like an old person thing to check email, but please, you know, encourage your student to start getting into the regular habit of checking their Gmail, because that is how we reach out to them. We also use Google Calendar, which has been awesome. So when we are scheduling meetings with students, we just pop it into the Google Calendar. We send them a GCal invite. It's on their calendar, so they're able to see when they're meeting with us. And it's always interesting because they always see the message pop up and they come into my office, and I always start with, "You're not in trouble," because they always think they're in trouble. I'm like, I would like to think what it is you did that is having you come to my office. But it really is just to check in with them and get to know them over the course of 4 years. So we also will reach out for many things, checking on how things are going, following up on an issue, checking in about a friend, answering questions that they might have asked. And we will do our best not to pull them out of class. It's excellent now that we have this win blocks. Students have free blocks, directed studies, canceled classes. So we do our best now to try to keep them in class to the best of our ability, unless there's an emergency. And that would be really the only reason that we're pulling them out of class. And so our goal over the 4 years is to sort of provide this, there's this phrase we use, this gradual release of responsibility, right? So as ninth graders, they're now starting to become teenagers. And a phrase I often use with my Goldrick students is, you're now old enough to make your own decisions, but you're not old enough to make your own rules. And that's where sort of things butt up with being a teenager, because they're like, but I did this, but it's like, sorry, you're not 18 yet, still got to follow the rules. So we work with them to figure out, okay, how do I start to earn that responsibility? You know, how do I advocate for myself? How do I meet with teachers, meet with deans? And so that's that gradual release of responsibility. And I believe, I can't remember if it's Meg or Charlie who will talk about sort of this like idea of open campus and limited open campus, but that's sort of one of the steps that we use in terms of them having that gradual release of responsibility. So I will say, actually, it was Josepha, so it's actually me. So when it comes to open campus, ninth graders do not have open campus. They have what Mr. Mayette, Dean of Goodwin House, came up with. I love it. It's limited open campus. I was calling it loose campus for years, but that was a weird phrase. So limited open campus means that they can go outside, they just cannot leave campus. One of the hard things about being in such a large high school is, you know, there's this temptation, well, you know, no one's standing at the door, no one's watching me. So we do encourage parents, and I have this conversation with parents and guardians all the time. Please, please, please have a conversation with your student about not getting into cars, especially with people they do not know, right? Stay on campus, be on campus. Now, to be fair, ninth graders are scheduled to be in a place every block. So they should always be somewhere on campus. But I know, especially with COVID, I've seen a lot of ninth graders going outside to eat, which is fine because they want to take their masks off. They don't feel comfortable in the student center, also known as the cafeteria. But please have that conversation with them. Do not just get in a random senior's car. And they shouldn't be leaving campus anyway. And if you are seeing that or hearing that, please let the deans know. You can let us know anonymously if you'd like, but we can always have a conversation with your student about, you know, staying on campus. All right, so that was sort of Josepha's portion. My portion veers more towards like, okay, so now they're in school, you have the house structure. One of the great things out of COVID is that we have become a one-to-one device school, or district, I should say. So all ninth graders should have their Chromebooks now. If they do not have their Chromebooks, it is not too late. All you have to do is make sure that you sign the Chromebook agreement on Aspen, and that will be really the access point for so many things within our school. Once again, Gmail, Schoology, G Calendar, and a lot of teachers use the Chromebooks to enhance their teaching. So, you know, a question that is often asked is, well, do they have to use the Chromebook? What if they have a MacBook Air? That's fine to have, but we do encourage you to use the Chromebook because that's how teachers are basing their lessons. And so that is the technology that everyone has. And so to be equitable to all, we want to make sure that everyone is, you know, at least used to using a Chromebook. So once again, if you have more questions about that, you're always more than welcome to reach out to the specific teacher if there is a specific need that you have for your student. Another piece of technology is cell phones. And so, you know, back in the old days, back in the late 90s, cell phones didn't really exist. They are the thing now. And a big question always is, can they have cell phones? Can they not have cell phones? So in this high school, as we prepare students for the real world, we know that it's not like cell phones don't exist in the real world. So we are working with our students to make sure that they are learning how to responsibly use cell phones. So it really is teacher to teacher, but I will say the general idea is that students should not be using cell phones in classes. Do your best to try to not to text your student during class. I know things might come up. Please call the house secretary. We can get in touch with your student in an instant. And so that will also create like this, it will help It will help them not feel like they need to be checking their cell phone to see if mom and dad are calling. So if they know, if you say to them, if I need you, I'm going to call the house secretary, they'll get in touch with you. And if it is something where you do need to speak to your student, the house secretary can always call your student down to the house office, and you can definitely speak within the house office. So most teachers don't allow cell phones in their class. There might be some places where if kids are going outside, they might say, take your cell phone because you're doing this activity and you might want to use it. But in general, most teachers don't allow cell phones in class, and they use cell phone parking lots. So they put the cell phones in a little holder and they get it back at the end of class. Transitioning to grades, we are back to a traditional grading system. For those of you who were in the system last year, you might have seen at the middle schools, we had something called A, B, P, and G. We are now back to A, B, C, D, F, traditional, what you've known in the past grading system. But teachers are working to, sort of look at that and how does that work within a standards-based system. Once again, if you have questions, you can always reach out to the specific teacher about their grading system within the A to F. And finally, attendance. Attendance is taken every day in every block. Like I said, ninth graders are to be somewhere at all times, except for Lion Block, as was mentioned earlier. So think of that like an extra help block. So students can leave campus, can go home during Lion Block, which is the last block on Tuesdays. So we also encourage you to have a conversation with your ninth grader or new to South student. Where do you expect them to be during Lion Block? Buses leave after Lion Block, and that's to provide the opportunity for your student to go seek out extra help from a teacher or to go to a club or activity, which I believe Mr. Mayette will talk about later, how the Lion Blocks are separated. But attendance is taken in all classes, and you will receive a phone call by the house secretaries by a certain time. I believe it's 10:30. Mr. Williams, you can correct me on this, but I think it's 10:30 each day. And then I got the thumbs up, so there we go. And you will also receive an email from Aspen as well, I believe. And if you need to dismiss your student, please call the house secretary and let her know, and she will put it in the system, and then you can come up with a system on like where you will meet your student outside. And finally, if students are returning, so let's say they went to a dentist appointment, medical appointment, and they're returning, please make sure that they check in at the house office, and that's how we know that they're back in school. And so the house secretary will put that in the system, and on they go. If there's any changes, like I said, the house secretary is your number one point of contact, so you can always ask questions. So that was a mouthful, but with all that being said, I will pass it on to Mr. Mayette, the Dean of Goodwin House.
Thank you, Mr. Banks, and thank you folks for hanging in there. My name is Charlie Mayette. This is my 17th year as the Dean of Goodwin House. I've been teaching at South for a long time as a science teacher, and my experience in education, I believe, is probably longer than the lifespan of most of the people who are on the screen right now. So that being said, let me talk a little bit about advisory, WIN block, and Lions block. Advisory will be 20 minutes on Mondays. And it's also a group that we will use to have school-wide conversation and informational meetings, including WIN blocks. It's a time for communication. It's a time for check-in. And this year will be a time when your child or the student will be signing up for what they will be doing during WIN block, or be able to check in what WIN blocks may have been assigned to them during the week. The nice thing about advisory, same advisor, an advisory for 4 years. There is a counselor attached to them. There is a dean attached to each. I'm attached to, obviously, to the group that's in Goodwin House. It's a great way to get to know a teacher and peers, and that you may not have known otherwise or had a chance to know. It's one piece of advice I have as a dean. It's very important that your child have at least one trusted adult or staff member in the school, someone that they know that they could talk to or tell something to, or just someone they know they could go to, even if they just had the simplest of questions. As my colleague, Mr. Banks, likes to say, I may be the oldest in the bunch, but I can still bring it. And I'm out in the hallways and I have my spots and we say hello, and the deans are out there and Ms. Strauss and Mr. Williams are out there and the counselors are out there, but sometimes students just feel comfortable. There's somebody they meet, whether it's a coach or a campus aide, a custodian sometimes, somebody in the library, somebody through athletics down the athletics department, the art department, theater. There's just so many places. It's a secretary, it's an administrative assistant. So hopefully they'll know one adult, and maybe that's a question you might want to ask them in a month or two. Is there an adult, it could be a teacher they have in class. So please, that's what advisory is about. It's about that connection time and getting communication out. But the exciting part, and I just scrolled right past it, wind block, what I need. And wind block, even though it's been discussed as being required tonight and expected to be there, I'm still scrolling back up, so I'm ad-libbing as we're going here. I have said to many students, particularly seniors who have asked me some questions about it, it's an exciting time for people in the school, for students in the school, to get to a lot of things that maybe there's never time for. And that could be academic and intellectual pursuit. It could be relaxation and connection. And it could be some sort of initiative that a group has started or through the school. So in my many years at South, I'm very excited because in the big school that we've become, we haven't had the time to interact as a school in a smaller level for these types of things. We've had J Block, sure, we've had huge presentations and movements, but I'm very excited. So here's what it is, the wind block, what I need 3 times per week, everyone required to go. Sign up where you are going on Mondays during advisory. That's what we'll be learning over the next week or two. What I need is what it stands for. Teachers may sign your student up for their wind block in advance if they need to see them. Otherwise, students can choose which teacher to see, or if they want a quiet study, they can pick a teacher they know, or the student center is a larger space. Attendance is always taken. Attending is expected. It is in the student's schedule. Last one, lion block. I love the lion block. It's not required. We had one today. It was pretty busy. It's the last block on a Tuesday. The buses will not come till after that. This is a time that students may check in with a teacher, clubs may run, students may connect with or get some things answered to a counselor or to the house office or such like that. It's highly recommended as a time to get involved with a club or to connect with somebody. Teachers take attendance only to facilitate contact tracing at this time. It's not for accountability or to see who came or not. Some of the uses, help blocks, teacher conference. Let me just scroll down a bit there, sorry. Clubs and activities. We'll have blue and orange weeks so students can join more than one club. That's a question that came up in several of the parent nights that I attended to. And some clubs and activities may decide to use a wind block as a supplemental to the lion block as a club meeting. And that will be a future decision made by the advisor in the club. So again, thanks for being here tonight. I see the numbers have stayed strong. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Dr. Megan Martin.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Charlie. I'm Megan Martin. I'm the Dean of Wheeler House. I've been at Newton South since 2005. I was an English teacher. As Mark Banks says, once an English teacher, always an English teacher. And I taught ACP, CP, honors. I taught in the global program, the linked program, and I was the leader of the core cohort for years. And I started as a dean in the fall of 2019. So welcome to everyone, and please don't hesitate to reach out to any one of us at any point. I'm going to talk a little bit about navigating the building for your students and then go into a little bit about the rules about COVID. And then we're going to close out my section and the dean's section with some general pointers and things, if nothing else, what you can take away from and ask your children about, so that you sort of have, again, as being the English teacher, your conclusion or your so what message will be at the end, where you can have the things that we want you to take away. Mark gets what we're talking about. So first and foremost, navigating the building. A little bit of this has been said before. Donna Siegel, one of the Cutler House guidance counselors, spoke about this, but when students' classes are canceled, whether a teacher is absent or they can't be in that day, ninth graders are required to go to the student center. The student center is what we also call the cafeteria, that big open area in the middle of the school. They'll go there during non-lunch blocks. During lunch blocks where kids are obviously eating in the cafeteria, ninth graders would go to the auditorium. 10th, 11th, and 12th graders have open campus. Ninth graders do not have open campus or free blocks. If they are telling you that they do have a free block and they're looking at their schedule and they see that there's actually nothing scheduled for a particular period, they need to talk to their guidance counselor or their dean right away, because it might have been a glitch in their system. So if they're saying they have a free block, that's not the way that it should be. Either there's some confusion or they need to get, we can tell them where they should be going. Ninth graders are scheduled for every period in the day. If you are here because you are new to South, if you're new to South because you have an upper class person, a 9th, 10th, a 10th, 11th, or a 12th grader, they will have unscheduled blocks on their schedule. That's okay if they say that I actually do have a free block or something like that. Also, during canceled classes, they do not need to go to the student center or the auditorium. So if your student is a 10th, 11th, or a 12th grader, they don't have to go to the auditorium or the student center like their 9th grade counterparts would have to. During those times that are unscheduled for 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, they can go to the other spaces. Those would be the Wheeler Commons, which is directly across from where my office is, Goodwin Commons, which is right outside of Charlie's office, Goldrick Commons, directly across from Mark's office, the Student Center, which is the cafeteria, the library, or they can go outside and sit at some of the picnic tables or sit out there near where the tables are between Wheeler and the Breezeway, or they can go off campus. They are allowed to do that if they are not a 9th grader. Once we're up and running, students can also go to the centers that a couple of the guidance counselors were talking about, the math center, the writing center, the science center, where they can go for some extra help in those particular disciplines. Also during free blocks or open time, they can go make appointments with their teachers or their guidance counselors. And Jim Medeiros, I believe, was speaking about how you can make an appointment and when you can go and meet with teachers and our guidance counselors. That's a great time built into their day so that they don't have to do it on outside of school time. Students may eat in 2 places only. We're being very strict about this, and it's obviously for clear reasons this year, among all other, more so than any other year. The student center, which is the cafeteria, or they can eat outside. But there's no eating in the halls, there's no eating in the classrooms. They really need to be in those 2 locations, either outside of the building or in the cafeteria. So it just kind of trickles into and transitions into our discussion of COVID precautions this year. None of this is new to the students or the faculty or any of you, I'm sure, but all students must wear masks everywhere in the building, except during the time when they're eating in the student center. But if they're in the hallways, if they're in a classroom, if they're in the bathroom, they need to have their mask on, a mask that covers their mouth and their nose, goes all the way up, that doesn't have a little vent. It's the one that loops over your ears. We have extras in all of the houses and in many of the rooms. If a student forgets one or one breaks, that we can give them very easily. Students may remove their masks when they're outside. So if they're sitting outside and they want to take a breather, literally and figuratively, they're more than welcome to do so. Students may ask teachers for a mask break at any time, and they'll be given one. They will leave the class to step outside, and literally they will go outside. They'll not just be in the hallway. So they can go out to the side of the building, take a break without their mask, and once they feel like they're ready to go back in, they'll go back in. Students will use QR codes or the websites to record their entries into the common area and into the library. So for instance, those comments that I said that were across from Mark and Charlie in my offices, they have a QR code where they can scan in, and they'll that'll be for contact tracing in case they ever need to use that for COVID protocols. And same thing with the library. When they're in the student center, which is again the cafeteria, they must record their individual table number. All of this will assist with contact tracing should we ever need it. So that was that. And this is sort of those takeaway points that I was talking about a moment ago. These are the advice that we often give students, and by extension, we give you to give to your students, and talking points, if nothing else, after this. If they say, you know, what did they talk about? These were the things we would really hope you would hit upon. We have really specific core values at Newton South: choose kindness, listen first, show respect, and take responsibility. They're plastered all over the school, on many of the syllabi and web pages and posters throughout the entire building. Choose kindness. It sounds trite, but it's the most important idea that we want kids to grab at times. Be kind to others, be kind to yourself, be kind to the physical building that we're in, be kind to the staff around you, be kind to your environment, and choose it. Make a conscious effort every day to do that. Listen first. If you hear something in a class that you don't agree with, or you're getting ready to get your back up and get angry, take a moment, listen to what the person has to say, and then say whatever it is that you truly believe. Show respect. Again, show respect for yourself, show respect for your others around you, your peers, your teammates, the people you're playing against, your opponents, your classmates, your environment, the building, the custodial staff, everybody around you. Show respect and take responsibility. Take responsibility for your actions, for your opinions, for your ideas, for the mistakes you make, for the wonderful things you did. This is the way that we want the citizens of our school to go out into the citizens of the community. We can instill those core values early and often. We're going to really cultivate some wonderful, or continue to cultivate some wonderful students. The next thing we say is try new things. Sometimes there's so many people at the school and so many kids who think that they want to do this one thing, and they might not expose themselves to some wonderful opportunities in the building, whether that's an elective that they think sounds interesting, or it's a club that is piquing their interest, or a sport that they've always been intrigued by. We encourage them to try those new things and get their feet wet. They might find something that they become incredibly passionate about as a senior that they had no idea they would be interested in as an incoming ninth grader. Look out for their friends. Please tell your students to look out for each other. Sometimes a friend might say something in passing, and it just makes somebody say, "Ooh, I'm not quite sure if I like that," or "That made me really uncomfortable," or "I'm really concerned," or "That doesn't sound like him. He might be having a bad day," or "They seemed a really bit off." There's nothing wrong with going to a trusted adult, any of their deans, any of their guidance counselors, their advisory teachers, their trusted person in the building, and just saying, "I'm concerned about so-and-so." It is absolutely not telling on somebody. It is absolutely not breaking a trust. It's actually showing friendship and maturity far beyond their years. And we're very good at making sure we can check on somebody without letting them know necessarily who said what. We're just checking in. Find at least one adult you connect with in the school. I know a lot of my colleagues have talked about that tonight. One thing I said at one of the parent nights, parent coffee hours, or meet the principal, was when I was a ninth grade teacher, I would say on the first day, find a person. Who's your person? Know your person. And usually by the end of term one, I would take everybody out in the hall, ask them how they were doing in the school, touch base with all my students, and say, "So who's your person?" And if they didn't have an answer, then that would let me know that that was a student who might need a little bit of an extra nudge towards somebody, whether they're a guidance counselor to reach out, or a club, or touch base with their parent. So if you could touch base with your students periodically and just say, "Hey, who's your person in the school?" And we're not talking about their best friend, but rather, what adult can they go to? It doesn't have to be one of us. It doesn't have to be a guidance counselor. They should have an adult in the building that they know. And then talk to a trusted adult whenever you need help. That also goes for all of you. Please don't hesitate to reach out to let us know if there's something going on with your student, or you don't know what's going on with your student and you just wanted to reach out. That happens a lot, and we're a team 100%. The last piece of advice that we want to leave with you, especially the deans, to all the guardians or parents or family, adult family members, is you don't need your child or your student's permission to call us or reach out to us. So they might say, oh, don't write to my dean, don't write to my guidance counselor, whatever you do, don't write to the principal or the vice principal. You do not need to have their permission. By all means, if there's anything you need, don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we can either talk to your student immediately, or we can work out a plan together to reach out to your student in a way that they and you feel most comfortable, to make sure that they know that they are supported. This is what I always say to my students in Wheeler House, and I know the people on this call have heard it often, but we want your students and you to see our houses as places where you and your students can come in times of struggle and success. So please don't hesitate to brag about something wonderful that your student did. We want to know, and please don't hesitate to let us know if there's something that we really should help, or how we can be of help to you or your family or your student. So thank you so much and welcome. I'm going to pass it back to Dan. I know a lot of the questions were being answered as we go, but Dan, please, back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. So there are a couple of questions that I've seen come in that perhaps we can try to address in these last 5 or 6 minutes before 8 o'clock. So the questions that I am seeing, and I'll throw them out there if Deans or Principal Strauss or Vice Principal Williams wants to answer. So the first question I'm seeing, I have a question for the Deans about directed study. During these COVID times, would you please allow kids to go outside during directed study? This would allow kids to take a mask break and also allow them to minimize their exposure to the virus.
I'll jump in on that one. So it might be hard to do as a whole class, because there might be some students who want to stay in during the directed study, especially as the year gets going. But one thing that I think Meg had said earlier is that any student can ask a teacher for a mask break at any point. So if your child is sitting in directed study and they're just like, oh, I just need a mask break, I've been in class all day, they just have to ask the directed study teacher, and they can certainly go outside. And it might be that the directed study, if they get a couple, the directed study teacher might say, oh, I'm noticing many of you need a mask break. Do you all want to take a mask break together? And they can do it. So please don't hesitate to have your student just ask for a mask break. And that can be not only during directed study, any class during the day.
Great. Thank you. Another question I'm seeing here, someone had shared, my daughter read that students lose points for absences due to doctor's office visits. Is that correct?
I can answer that. No, that's not correct. As Mark was explaining with the absences, if you call the house secretary and let them know, particularly if it's a medical or a dental or a court absence, it would be an excused absence. No point penalty or deduction would be done. The one thing we would encourage any student to do, for whatever reason he, she, or they misses a class, would be to check in with the teacher to find what information was missed, what they might need to make up. It also is good self-advocacy just to say, hey, I wasn't here, I acknowledge that, what could I miss? But please reassure your daughter that points wouldn't be deducted for an absence, particularly if it was a medical absence, a dental absence, or a court absence, that would have been excused.
And if I could jump in, if someone, if there is a student, if that is something that you've read somewhere, or a student said, no, my teacher said this, please have them come chat with one of the deans, and we can follow up with the teacher and or department chair.
Great. And the last open question that I'm seeing here came in. It says, why are there no substitute teachers at Newton South High School?
Charlie, do you have institutional knowledge on that?
Yes, substitutes, the ISS staff, I'd say it's over 20 years now, maybe longer, late 90s, once we went to the 990 schedule, and the idea of time and learning, and these directed studies have to be such, they're not just studies. And at that time, there might have been several overrides of those types of things. They were line item overrides, and that was a line item that got cut So they've had them in the middle schools these past few years. We are a school of 1,800 plus, Newton North's a school of 1,900 plus. We could use them at both high schools. It would really help, but it's been something that's just been over 20 years, Principal Strauss, since it's never come back.
All right, and I did see one more question that came in, and it looks like we've got just a minute or so to answer this one. But the question was, can a trusted adult be a dean of a house that is not a student's own house or dean? And, you know, I think all of us, I see the heads nodding. Absolutely. The trusted adult can be anyone with whom your child feels a connection. It could be a coach. It could be an aide. It could be a custodian. It could be a classroom teacher, a counselor, or an administrator. What's most important is that we want your children to feel connected and to have adults in their lives in school with whom they can confide and get good advice and just really feel a part of something bigger than themselves here at South. So, and you know what, there's one last question that I just saw come in. When would a student go to WinBlock versus the Writing Science or Math Center? And I would say that there isn't necessarily like a clear divide that it's the right time to go to one versus the other. Certainly if they're looking for content area support very specifically with a writing assignment, with a science assignment or lab, with mathematics, you know, the content area support center is a great opportunity for them, but it's not necessarily the only answer. So they could go see their writing science math teacher during a WinBlock. As the year gets going and as we broaden the WinBlock opportunities that are available, certainly we expect to be offering targeted academic support during WinBlocks with very specific opportunities. Could be around concrete academic skills. It could be more general with things like executive function skills. Right now, we are just getting off the ground with WinBlocks. Next week, students will begin to choose to meet with specific teachers. And as we get into October and beyond, we expect a greater diversity of the types of learning experiences that we'll be offering during WinBlocks. And if your child is unsure of what's the right venue to get support, I would absolutely encourage them to talk to their school counselor. So thank you all very much. We are right at 8 o'clock, so I think we're going to call it a night. But if you have any questions that you did not have an opportunity to ask this evening, please don't hesitate to reach out by phone, by email. We are here for you. We are here for your students, and we really look forward to this time that we'll have together in supporting your children's development.
Thank you all so much. Appreciate everybody being here. Thank you, Dan, for hosting. Thank you very much. Have a great night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you, everybody. Here's to a great year.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.